Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new episode of Before the Punchline Comedy Podcast, where we discuss everything connected to the world of comedy and beyond. My name is Kirill. I'm your host as usual, and today I have something special for you, or should I say rather someone special. That's right, yeah. So my guest tonight is, I say, one of those few people who I know who's an actual pro comedian who's been making this for a living at some sort. So he's been performing for over 10 years. And beyond stand-up, he's done also some TV comedy. Performed at various festivals, Cape Town Comedy Festival. I know that, yeah. I read your resume, man. Yeah. So that's been impressive, yeah. And also some TV series in South Africa as well. And as you might have already guessed, he's from South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on the show, Mumsy. Hello, man. How are you doing?
Good on you, Carol. Good on you.
Okay, great. You know what? I'm actually pretty happy that I got you on the show for different reasons. But one of them is that we have plenty of foreign comedians, who you met as well, here in Russia. But you are like an outsider to this culture, to even the comedy culture in Russia, because even though they are foreigners, but they've been living here for several years. So they kind of already soaked in this culture, this style of comedy, in Russia, and so on and so forth. But you're still like in the process because you've been here for 6 months,
Yeah, I've been here since February, so I'm looking at February until October. My maths is bad. 7 months.
Okay, yeah. Okay, nice. So, I was breaking my head where to start. But I guess we'll start right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So let me take you back a decade ago or even more, the first time that you got on stage. So a very typical question, but a very important question to know origins, How did you get into comedy and why? What was the reason?
Okay, so it's a long answer, but I'm going to try and shorten it to less than 50 minutes.
We have time, man.
So I come from a family of entertainers in South Africa, so entertainment kind of runs in the family. I started acting in plays when I was 3 years old at school, and then I started on TV, presenting on TV when I was like 11 years old. And that was like a continuity TV program where, people, you're so young that it's just like, and now after speaking about cats, let's speak about dogs and cuts. So it was one of those kind of things. So I loved entertainment. I loved plays. I loved performing. I loved plays more than I loved the camera. I was very comfortable in front of the camera, but the camera doesn't give you energy. It doesn't talk back to you. It doesn't laugh. It doesn't smile. It doesn't have emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I prefer theater. Long story short, I was in a production a while back, and someone had actually seen me. They saw me emceeing a fashion show that I wasn't even the MC of. I was actually in the audience, and I told one of my friends, I don't like this MC. Then he arranged for me to be the MC for the next half. I don't know how he did it. And then I emceed that, and one of the people in the audience that had seen me was the agent of one of South Africa's oldest and most successful stand-up comedians, Joe Parker.
Wow.
And she said, hey, have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy? And I was like, awesome. Then I did my first gig where absolutely no one laughed. They gave me 5 minutes. Absolutely no one laughed. When I say no one laughed, I remember standing on stage and I could hear the sound of people sipping their beer. That's how quiet the room was. It was so bad. And I was supposed to do 5 minutes. I ended up I only did like 2 minutes because that's how bad I felt. So after 2 minutes, I walked off stage. I still had the microphone with me. I walked backstage, still had the microphone with me. Got backstage, still had the microphone with me. And when I realized because I was shaking so much, it was such a bad experience. When I realized I still had the microphone, I looked down and I was like, and obviously I didn't know the mic was on. I didn't realize that the people could still hear what I was saying. I didn't realize so I looked down and I was just like, oh shit, I'm so black I stole the microphone. And as I walked back, the only thing, so everybody heard me saying that when I walked back onto stage to put the mic back onto the microphone stand, everybody was laughing. That was the only laugh that I got. So that made me look at like, you know, how it made me change like the content that I was talking about in South Africa.
Oh man, I think we've all been there because I remember my first set that I did. Yeah, it was 5 minutes. And here's the thing, like about Russian comedy. Right now, it's good. Yeah, right now, people who come to Russian shows, Russian stand-up shows, they're like, okay, we're here to laugh. Yeah, we understand how difficult it might be. Yeah, so we respect the comedian. Back then, nobody gave a fuck. You had a room full of drunks who would yell at you, who would heckle you like crazy. But I avoided that.
Yeah.
Thing that happened to me was much worse. In the middle of my set, one of my jokes was so bad, the host heckled me.
That must have been really bad. I want to hear it one day. That's so hectic.
Yeah, because I was cracking a joke about how my mom was fat or something like that. Yeah, typical 70s, you know, comedy club stuff. And by the end that I dropped the what I thought was a punchline, what turned out to be a pile of shit, he heckled at me. He was like, yeah, she's fat. We get it. Move on. The feeling that I had, man, that was unbelievable. But I still was there. You know, I was there the next week. So, yeah, that kind of sorts out the people who don't want actually to do that. Yeah. So that's a great story, actually. I'll probably open up a Pandora's box right now. Yeah, spill out the truth. But Mumsy is not your real name. It's a stage name, right?
No. Yeah. So Mumsy is my stage name. So when I was at school, I went to a school which was predominantly South Africa. I don't know if a lot of the people who are listening know much about South African history, but I'll give you a brief history. South Africa went through a period called apartheid, which basically meant that the white people took everything from black people, and then they separated. There was segregation.
You sure it was South Africa, not America and Mexico?
Everywhere. So it was very rare to be able to go to a school where like it was predominantly white and you're like a black student. So the hardest thing about that time period is it was very difficult to. What's the word? Oh, no, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm getting completely sidetracked. What was the original question?
Basically, I asked you that I told you.
My name. Yes. My name. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm back. Okay, cool. I hope that doesn't happen on stage.
Forgetting your stage name on stage. Yeah, that's an irony.
So what happened is a lot of white people in South Africa at the school could not pronounce my real name. So my real name is Mamello Mokoena. Mamello means patience. Mokoena is crocodile of the crocodile clan. So my name actually means patient crocodile. So at school, when I used to tell people my name was Mamello, people couldn't pronounce it. So some people would call me Mamelou. Some people would call me Mamello. Some people would call me Mamello Bear, and it was just like ridiculous. And then one day, I think it was like 6 years into my 6th year into school, one of my friends came up to me and like, hey, Mumsy. And it sounded better than Marshmallow. So I stuck with that as a nickname. And then when I started doing stand-up, I thought, let me just use it. Let me use my nickname because it's easily accessible. People can, everybody from black, white, colored, Indian, whatever, they can all understand it. So that's that. I use my nickname as my stage name.
Okay, that's great. So why even ask you this? Yeah, because in comedy world, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of examples as well. When a comedian comes up with a stage name, basically it means that very often they create a persona on stage. They create a character, which then they follow. We had a couple of examples like that in the comedy world. Delirious comes to mind. There is like an American comedian. But so my question to you, if Mumsy is your stage name, is it also a character on stage? And if yes, then how different is Mumsy on stage from Mumsy in everyday life?
No, so you see, the stage name Mumsy is actually my nickname. So it's not actually related to a character. However, there is a character that I used in South Africa, and there's a character that I actually did in a few gigs here in Russia. The problem with the character is that I used the character as like a novelty gimmick, just to kind of like break the audience. Sometimes when you go into a completely new market, or you go to a new venue, or it's a new audience and you don't know anything about the audience, and yet you don't have enough information, it kind of helps to have a character that where you can play off of sort of slapstick comedy techniques, that are a global language, rather than trying to like deep dive into understanding the culture, knowing all the nuances, so that when you hit a punchline, you can hit a little bit of slang, but then you have a reference that makes people remember, oh yes, that's actually what you're talking about. So I have a character that's completely unrelated to the name Mumsy. And there's jokes that are created around that character, but that character doesn't last long. I mean, I squint my eyes, I talk funny, I have an accent and everything, but that lasts about 3 minutes, and then I break into my normal voice, because the reason I created that character was mainly because there's a big stigma about how I speak, and in South Africa, I'd been teased a lot because I'm well spoken and well educated, which sounds completely ridiculous. Like like someone listening in right now is probably thinking, how can you get teased for having like a good education and speaking well? But
it's like a person who can read, write, and say something without mistakes. How dare you?
Exactly. So it was so a lot of my comedy is actually geared around the material that I like to write is geared around taking a common misconception, or a social injustice that most people don't realize they're doing, and flipping it on its head.
Basically flipping it on them.
Yeah. Well, not on them. No. Just flipping the concept. I mean, if I'm flipping it on them, it's almost like I'm trying to get revenge back at the person. I'm actually just flipping the concept to change how they see the thing that they're seeing. You know what I mean? Like changing the perspective.
Yeah, I get that. But the reason why I said what I said right now, that's basically flipping it on them, because I know how insecure people might be and how thin-skinned they might be.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of people, once they listen to you, basically can turn into this, negation, like, oh no, that's not who I am. That's not what I do. Basically, yeah. So have you ever had these situations when you made people uncomfortable during the show with your jokes? Not because they were edgy, but just because people realized that, oh man, that's probably what I do, but I don't want to admit that.
All the time. The in the beginning, when my set was not as refined, there's one main set that I do, which is basically talking about being a coconut. So for Russians, the concept of being a coconut is it's a derogatory term for someone who's black on the outside and supposedly white on the inside. Okay. Now in South Africa, it's a very contentious issue, because coconuts are generally middle class to upper class, better educated. Their lives are technically a little bit better, higher standard of living. And because the majority of black people in South Africa are times are changing now with like black economic empowerment, which is like affirmative action, but still there's a large majority of people who are not well spoken, not educated, and it's easier to attack. It's like in Russia, it was much easier to attack the czars. And strip them down because they were living this, and we're definitely not living that kind of an opulent life. But I mean, it's just an example to kind of show a parallel. So a lot of my comedy was actually geared around changing the perception, this negative perception around the term coconut. And since doing that, I literally there's so many more comedians in South Africa now, because I've been running comedy gigs for about 10 years in South Africa. I've booked everybody from Trevor Noah to Loyiso Madinga to Loyiso Gola, everybody. And as the more that I was actually talking about being happy and confident and excited about being a coconut, you started to see this rise of more and more comedians who are now not scared to actually be like, yes, I did get a good education. So what? You can't hold that against me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that was like a really big motivator for me. Is like making sure that I could like drive that kind of message home, you know? So when I think of comedy sets these days, it's more around, if I'm going to do the set, I'm going to write the set. What is the social injustice that I'm trying to change? Or what is the perception I'm trying to change? Or what did someone do to me that I need the rest of the world to see in a different light? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is basically breaking the expectations, because I've seen some guys trying to do the same thing here in Russia. You know, when they take some occurrence which is basically a habit of the society to do, like one of the dumbest things, you know, because like, okay, so if we turn to that route away for a moment, Russia is, in my opinion, as a person who's been living here for 27 years of my life, Russia is still pretty racist. We are a pretty racist country. And I've seen it with my own eyes when I was in karaoke with my wife one day, about a year ago. And there was a couple of, a black couple, basically, a young guy and a girl, and they were dancing. And then I saw a drunk Russian guy standing right beside them. He was staring at them for 3 minutes, you know, like stomping like from one foot to another. And then he came up to them. He was like, he said it in Russian, He was like, excuse me, do you know that you're practically invisible in dark? And I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, you see, this, and the problem is that this is okay, you know, like nobody would tell this guy that, dude, you're being an asshole here, and this is the cultural thing, and so I've seen plenty of comedians trying to play off of it, but what they are doing, they are balancing, they're basically walking on the edge of cracking a joke and shaming people for such behavior. And when they actually do that, you know, when they actually walk that edge to the end, boy, oh boy, is it great. You know, just a great feeling that you see that, how audience reacts. I even saw some people in the crowd, you know, laughing and then sitting there like thinking about what they just heard. So yeah, that's another
It's a tricky one. I mean, you see, the thing with South Africa, South Africa compared to any other country in the world, we understand race and racism on a level that other countries have not even come close to even understanding what the issues are. The thing with Russia is, okay, so last year I was in Germany last year, right? Germany is maybe a little bit further along the line with regards to understanding what racism means in their country. The reality with Russia is that Russia and South Africa have very similar histories, right? So if you look at South African history, we had apartheid, and apartheid, there was a lot of people that were murdered, and it was, you know, there was a lot of death, and there was a lot of pain and suffering. You look at Russian history, just the gulags alone. Just when you think about any Russian who has a family member who is part of the millions who died in the gulags, like that by itself, even if you don't even go into like the Bolsheviks, even if you don't go further than that, like it's enough to know that that is going to sit with people and it's going to cause a level of tension. Then what happened is when South Africa came out of apartheid in 1994 and the USSR became a democratic country.
I mean, we're still in the process, I think.
So yeah, when the USSR sort of like made a public announcement that they were a democracy, what happened is one very big important thing for both South Africans and Russians, right? Black people who had never had access to traveling around the world could now travel around the world. Russians who never had access to traveling around the world could now travel around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that creates two very important things, right? One, it creates a whole bunch of people who are interested in the rest of the world. Okay. The second thing that it does is that it also creates. So you got people with the one side, you got people who are really excited to like see China and discover the world and understand different cultures, and then you got the other side, which is based on fear, and that is the scary side because when you open up borders, you've got some people who've been waiting to get out of the country, and then you got some people who want everything to stay the same way that it's been.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The thing with Russia is that because the percentage of people who are black is not big enough, there's not enough black people in Moscow even to even consider racism as a topic.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Until you have, like, I mean, South Africa, when you look at Joburg and Cape Town, I mean, look at any country in Africa, you are looking at a massive percentage of black people. And with that comes an overwhelming amount of culture and history and understanding. And it's the you know, when you look at how really traditional Russia is, if you were to try and not mess with, but if you were to introduce a vast majority of people that will literally change the culture, that is when you'll really start to see what actual racism could possibly be. Because right now it's not even racism. I mean, they're probably just excited. That dude is excited, and he's just a dick. He's not even racist. He's a dick.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, there is still, and it's surprising to me because even during the Soviet times, we had a lot of student exchange programs, where we had people from all over the world coming to the Soviet Union to study. And there were people of color as well, you know, like Indian people come to mind, one of my friends, a comedian, his parents met on the plane to the Soviet Union. You know, like that. So it's not like people are not familiar with other nations, you know, with the other different skin color, you know. It's not about that, but for some reasons there is still this border, you know, that people are still find it very unique and unusual when they see a person of color in front of them.
No, definitely. But the thing is, it's the number. That's the thing that differentiates.
Also,
I mean, if you walk into, everything I see in Russia fascinates me. Do you know what I mean? Everything that I see in Russia fascinates me. So I immediately, when I see an inanimate object like a building or whatever, I'm immediately going to want to take a picture, right? But now when I came here, people are running up to me and they just want to take a picture with me just because I'm black. Now the problem with that is only because of, if I go and see, like, if I see a beautiful woman, I can't walk up to her and say, I want to take a picture of vagina because I've never seen it. That just doesn't make sense, because that, like, she is a human being, I am a human being. But an inanimate object that doesn't have feelings and isn't like a human being, yes, of course, people are always going to be fascinated. I've never seen this building. I've never been to Vedinga. I've never seen the Bolshoi Theater. Yes, pictures. But, you know, it's human nature to be excited about, like, the exotic. Like, if you went to South Africa, there's probably, I mean, I know you're married, but there's a lot of African women who will look at you and be like, damn, Carol, come on here, get some chocolate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, because that's how human nature works.
That's how human nature works.
Human nature, not depending on the country even.
It doesn't depend on the country, but this is the only thing that I'm saying is that the term racism only really kicks in when it's been, you know, that dude has he's probably seen 5 black guys in his life, and he's done that joke every time because his friends laughed. He's probably like a really sad dude, and like that's his moment to shine. And every single time he goes out, he's maybe just hoping there's a black person so he can do that line again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
He hasn't. It's not like he you know, he lost a job because, you know, people of color took his parents' jobs, and because of that he ended up in like 20 years of suffering, and there's no emotional connection that he has to it for him to even say, okay, now I officially don't like, or I have an issue with, or I'm having trouble understanding this race. He's just excited. He's got one gag. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got like 52 hours of material. He only has one joke. You know what I mean? Like, let a brother grow up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see what you mean there. Yeah. It makes sense. So, see, ladies and gentlemen, not only is this fun, but it's also very educational, so to speak. Yeah. Now you learned about racism, which is actually, it ties up into comedy very well, because racism, I think, is one of those beaten to the death, you know, like topics in comedy. But I have to say that there are a lot of people who do it very, very good, you know, like not like traditional way that most of the other people do. Because I've seen plenty of people. Here's the thing. when you talk about racism in comedy, and that's where we will end the topic of racism and move to something more related to comedy. So when you talk about racism, I've seen plenty of people, even in Russia, who would, in Moscow in particular, who would try to do stand-up, and both in Russian and in English. And they are of different color, for example. And I've seen plenty of those people who were making jokes just based on the fact that they're black, for example. And people love it. People love it because it's one of those topics that for some people are still considered to be taboo. You know, it's very fun to joke about taboo topics, of course. But as a guy who has some understanding of how comedy works, I don't like this because you are making very basic jokes about you being black. It's like the same. It's very easy to get laughs. It's the same as like you would perform in Russian, and people would laugh only at your funny accent. Basically, that's for me. It's the same thing, But when you twist it, when you make it unpredictable, that's when we go to actually good part. But again, that's for me, and I have examples to judge on. But still, moving back, so we started talking about your style of comedy, and basically what you're doing, you're taking some social injustice, so to speak, and you turn it into the joke, This is this the style that you had from the get-go, or is this something that you came up to within the time?
No, so when I started comedy, in South Africa, we didn't even know that there was such a thing as a comedy industry. Whoever was doing comedy back then was probably white Afrikaans. They would read joke books and memorize joke books, and they would just stand on stage and say jokes. And this had been happening into the like early maybe 40s, 50s, So that's what the concept of being a comedian was. Then there was cabaret. There's various different versions. So when I started comedy, I could only base it on the fact that I'd seen Richard Pryor, I'd seen Eddie Murphy, I'd seen Chris Tucker, I'd seen a whole lot of the American comedians and some British comedians. And when I watched those stand-up sets, I legitimately thought that that stand-up comedy was only for people who had been successful in movies who then talk about their lives. That's it. That's what I thought stand-up comedy was. So it never occurred to me that anyone someone who actually had not acquired fame could just get on stage and talk, and that people would pay to listen to this guy who's never done a movie, he's never done anything, he's not even good looking.
And the funny thing, sorry for interrupting you, but the funny thing is that all of those guys who you just mentioned, they originally became popular by doing comedy on stage. Not
exactly.
Movies.
It's completely the other way around, So, and I mean, in South Africa, the way that we got access to media was completely different. There was a lot going on back then. I'm pretty sure similar things were happening in Russia. Things come into the country, and there's a lot of bans on anything that had to do with like being black, having black, whatever. So when I started doing comedy, my intention was just to make people laugh. So I was just trying to write jokes, and there were good jokes, and I'm a great performer, and I've been acting for a very long time. So performing it on stage was easy, but I think it was maybe a year and a half into performing stand-up comedy. I had a chat with a really prolific comedian in South Africa, and he said to me, "Where you are right now is that you know how to make people laugh. Making people laugh is actually easy. You know why? He just came from a dinner where 6 of his friends made him laugh, and they don't even perform on stage. Making someone laugh is easy. But being memorable is the hardest thing that you'll ever do in stand-up comedy. The only way that you can be memorable is you have to be true to you 100%. And that's something that you have to figure out. You know what I mean? Like every comedian has to figure out, do I just want to make people laugh? Do I want to talk about myself? I can be a one-line comic, but I want to be known as a one-line comic who only does dirty material or whatever. It doesn't matter what the what the style is. So for me, for the first, I'd say maybe 3 years of my career, I was just trying to make people laugh, and I did it well. And I performed at I did this. There was an event called Blacks Only, which was like an audience of 5,000 people.
Wow.
I did that show 6 times. I performed on TV. I was on Comedy Central. Like there was a whole lot of it just becomes like the snowball effect of things happening, and then poof, I hit a wall, and I got to a point where I was like,
What's next? Yeah.
like I don't know who I am actually on stage. Do you know what I mean? I'm cracking jokes. People are laughing. I'm having conversations. The after parties were amazing. I mean, in South Africa, the way that the industry exploded, like, comedy is the new rock and roll in South Africa. You know what I mean? It's on another level. There's lots of gigs to do. There's great TV opportunities. Like every single comedian that I can picture right now, who is still in South Africa right now and had been performing successfully for the last 2 years, radio shows, TV, corporate gigs, endorsements, all sorts of stuff, But the real problem was that when I look at comedians like Dave Chappelle is not funny because he's funny. He's funny because he expresses himself in a real way that is funny.
You can even say that probably that Dave Chappelle is not funny because he's a comedian. Dave Chappelle is funny because he's Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
On stage, he's himself.
Yeah, he's himself. You know what I mean? And that's actually better put. I was I was dancing around so many words. Dave Chappelle isn't funny because he doesn't like. Yeah, that was much better. So Dave Chappelle is funny because he's Dave Chappelle, and you know what being Dave Chappelle is. You know how he speaks. You can't get around that. Like his voice, you can literally picture how he's going to start any topic. You know that he's going to take you in a completely different direction, and that he's not scared to touch certain things. But in a similar vein, you think of him, and then you think of like a completely different, like Mitch Hedberg. You know what I mean? The late Mitch Hedberg. He's a completely different style.
Yep.
But he was him. That was him. You know his style. And I was thinking, like, in a country where there was this man, like when I started talking about being a coconut, it was like so original, so authentic. If no one was touching the topic. And then all of a sudden, there was just this rise of every single coconut comedian coming up. You had Mojack, you have Louisa Madinga, you've got all of them coming up. And I was just like, how do I distinguish myself from these people? I can't keep getting on stage and proclaiming I'm the king of coconuts.
Yeah.
I need to be able to. And then I realized that I'm actually just happy. I'm happy just making sure that the reason why I did coconut in the first place was not because I wanted to be an ambassador for coconuts forever. The reason that I did it was because that was the thing that was an injustice in my life, and I didn't like the fact that, and it was an illogical injustice. Do you know what I mean? It's like yesterday I was having a conversation about dating in Russia, how men are expected to pay everything on dates in Russia, but the women are not expected to do anything for that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't sound like a contract that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so now I want to fight those kind of topics. I want to fight that. I want to fight. It doesn't have to be race related. I just want to fight any situation that just doesn't make sense in my head. I want to be able to explain it on stage, and hopefully people laugh. That it doesn't become like a lecture.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, and I get what you're talking about, because like right now, I think that I'm going through this process of finding myself on stage, because for 4.5 years I've been doing that, yeah. And the guy who opened my eyes a lot about this, because I very rarely get to realize something until I get called out on that, yeah.
Yeah.
Abed, who was here on the first episode, yeah. Yeah. So he basically told me right before the tournament, because we're recording this right now when there is an actual English comedy tournament taking place in Moscow. I was talking to him. I was like, "Oh man, so you know what? I have this very great set. I know it's gonna kill, but I want to leave it for the later." And he was like, "Are you crazy? Like, he was harsher than that, but still, he was like, look, there is a very, so you want to go with a worse material. You know that. Yeah. First of all, you're a dumbass for going with the worst material. Yeah? But second of all, this is a competition. In competition, you know that there are going to be plenty of good comedians. And how can you define yourself in that competition? Yeah. You have to be memorable. You have to be memorable. Yeah. How does going with the worst set makes you memorable? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, he's probably right. So I went in there. I did my best set. Yeah, that I have like every joke landed, everything. And when people were deciding who goes through, like everyone applauded to me, you know, like for me, like even the people who came to support some other comedians, even they applauded for me. And at that point, I realized that this is what I need to do. If I want to stand out from all the other comedians who do that, I have to be memorable.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to be memorable. And this is the process where I feel like I'm at right now. Yeah, it's a painful process to be honest. Because you get paranoid a lot. You ask yourself questions. Should I continue doing that? Should I not continue doing that? Maybe I just want to quit all of this at once. But at the end of the day, I know that this is how, just exactly how having a baby, like a newborn baby, you have to squeeze through this process, and then it's going to be much easier. So hopefully it's going to be much easier in both parenting and comedy.
Well, look, I'm in that competition as well. So if you don't want to take Abed's advice, I'm okay with that too. This is less competition for me. That'll be great.
But you know what? Like, if we're going off topic here, one of those reasons why I actually even went into this competition, I will not disclose everything right now, but let's just say that I fucked up very hard a year ago. And because of that, I was banned from performing with the guys, who do stand up here in Moscow. And a year passed by. There is something that will always be there with me. But they actually invited me back in, in April. And I was like basically coming to every show, trying my best to be better. And when this tournament was announced, I was like, I want to go in there, and my main objective, as dumb as it sounds, is not to win. Like winning, of course, would be great. But I want to go out there with my original best material that I can. I want every joke to land. I want every person to laugh their asses off and to clap for me. And then I will have my mission accomplished. I got that done in the first round, I feel like, so that nobody will take that away from me. That for those 5 minutes, at the very least, I was the guy there. It's not like bragging, but it was very important to me to do that, and so right now it's like that. And it's very interesting how this entire process builds you up as a comedian, at the end of the day. Finding yourself on stage.
Well, you see, competitions like this are very important for one reason. The one reason is this. I don't call myself a full-time stand-up comedian because I'm not. All right? Trevor Noah, who used to, before he even went to America, who used to write 5 minutes of material every single day, that's a full-time comedian. John Vlismus, who worked, like, if you between 8 and 5 are working on comedy, 5 days a week, you're a stand-up comedian. So for me, I've never actually really been a stand-up comedian ever. I've never been able to. I don't like. Obviously, when you do media and stuff like that, there's a lot of people who don't really understand that nuance. So I've been called a comedian, and then I've accepted it myself. But the reality is that, in 13 years of doing comedy, I am a comedic performer on stage. Do you know what I mean? I'm a very good comedic performer on stage. Shortened to the term stand-up comedian. But when competitions like this are very important, because if you think about a person who's been doing comedy from 8 till 5. This person, comedy is not a, it's like a, like a golf pro.
Mm-hmm.
A stand-up comedian must be like a golf pro. You come to them and they're like, okay, here's my swing. I'm basically, this is the joke that I'm doing. And if that golf pro cannot help you with the swing, he's not a golf pro.
Yeah.
So technically, as much as, I used to love saying the term, I'm a professional comedian, because professional just means that you get paid for doing the service. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I justified it in my head. But the reality is that, when I have sets, like I'll go to comedians like KG. KG is one of the best comedians in South Africa when it comes to writing. I'll go to him, and this guy writes jokes. And he writes so many of them that you could go to him with any set, and he's not losing a piece of himself by giving you the most amazing punchline you've ever heard in your entire life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
so
that.
So competition like this it actually has nothing to do with everyone else. It actually has to do with the fact, and for the people who are listening now who don't actually understand who don't know the format of the competition, you got 5 minutes in the first round, assuming you make it to the finals. It's 5 minutes in the first round, 5 minutes of material in the second round, 5 minutes of material in the third round, 10 minutes of material in the fourth round, 10 minutes of material in the final. So technically speaking, you put that all together, that's 35 minutes of material. Now, 35 minutes of material, to write that is like 5 minutes. To write 5 minutes is 8 hours. So that's basically a week's worth of writing, just to do this competition. And it's spaced over 6 or 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that technically means that you're working for 7 months for the first time in your life, 100% as a full-time comedian.
Yeah.
Even though, because a lot of us, we call ourselves comedians, but like I've had a day job for the last 13 years.
Yeah.
I can't rightly say that I can write a simile and make sure that I can make it land and bring back. No. I'm not using any of the techniques in the way that a real professional comedian would literally look at a set and just be like, okay, cool. What's missing here is you need to have a callback over there, personify this right here, add a little simile here. These are a couple of options, and make it relevant by changing this to this. And which city are you going to? Oh, Detroit. Here's the references for Detroit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That I can't do that right now. What I can do is I can write a set that adapts to Russia or adapts to Moscow or whatever, but it's not as calculated as that. So that's why I love competitions like that, because you're actually competing with your own ability. It's like playing golf. You're not playing against the other person. You're trying to just get better.
Yeah, exactly. And to that question, talking about professional comedians, if we talk about people who who we could call professionals, professional comedians in Moscow right now who do it in English. Yeah. Let's say English. Yeah. I can think of only one person. That's Oleg Denisov. He's the only one, because he travels around the world. He does the festivals. He actually gets paid for that. That shows you that the guy is a pro comedian. Nobody else does that. Nobody else does that. And if we're talking about professional comedians in Russia, professional working comedians, who earn themselves living by doing that, there are not a lot of them. If you take Moscow, for example, there is a meme in Moscow, running joke, that every second person is a comedian, because every second person tries to do stand-up. Let's just say that there are presumably 10,000 people in Moscow, maybe, Okay, let's make it 1,000. 1,000 people in Moscow who do stand-up. Out of this 1,000 people, only about 50 are working. What do I mean by working? And I talked to one of these guys, Vasya Medvedev. He's like a pro Russian comedian. He wakes up, has breakfast or whatever. He sits down, and from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. he writes. He grinds. He writes. Then at 5 p.m. he sets off. He runs around about 4 to 5 different shows a day, testing, polishing that material. And that guy makes a living by doing comedy. And then here comes another point about Russian stand-up comedy. If you're not on television, and let me just say that most of the guys who you see on television in those stand-up shows, they got a lucky break about 10 to 15 years ago when this comedy format was just coming to Russia, and that's why they make a living, lots of money doing that, basically, The guys like Vasya, for example, they are grinding for pennies. I talked to one of these guys who's like working comedian. Yeah, I asked him like, how much do you make if it's not a secret? He told me, you know what, like about 45 to 50,000 per month. That's nothing. That's nothing, basically. Yeah, the average income in Moscow officially is 65 to 70,000 rubles.
Yeah,
that's the minimum that you need to earn to live. You know, not to survive, but to live.
Yeah,
and this guy makes 50. But to his credit, he grinds. He breaks through, you know, and he's becoming more and more popular. So yeah, I can see him becoming a big time comedian who actually deserves it. You know, so yeah, not a lot of opportunities for such people in Russia. So if you can't, if you want to do stand up professionally in Russia, what you need to do basically, you need to say goodbye everything else. You will definitely not have a daytime job. Maybe you can do some part-time job, yeah? But you will not have a daytime job, and you will only be focused on stand-up. Because, like I said, not a lot of big-time opportunities for such hard-working guys. The only way they can achieve success is through hard work. And that's that.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to burst your bubble, but that's comedy everywhere around the world. I mean, if you look at the biggest opportunities, okay, so let's say Russia, right? You look at the biggest opportunities in Russia, money-wise, for stand-up comedians. You've got there's maybe like 4 big TV shows, TV deals.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
On those TV deals, I think on maximum there's maybe 2 major comedians who are regular hosts on those shows. So that's 8 spots.
Yeah.
Right? You look at the clubs. Clubs are not going to pay you the kind of money that you really need. You look at America. Okay, America, there's some big positions, but like the biggest position being the Daily Show, and that's only 1 spot. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah.
Then you've got the late shows. And let's say you look at all the late shows, you're looking at about maybe 40 late shows. That's 40 spots. So globally in South Africa, there's no spots. There's nothing waiting for you at the end of the tunnel. You'll make a lot of money along the way, because now that comedy is like the new rock and roll, you can get endorsements, you can get blogs, you do lots of corporates, you know, your rate is defined by you. So, you know, that's okay. But globally, I'd say that you'll probably be looking at maybe 100 solid done positions for every comedian around the world that they can aspire to. Do you know what I mean? So every single country, it's impossible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, it really is. I think I was too scared to go into comedy, mainly because of the fact that I realized that very, very early on. I was like, I'm doing this for fun. I am not doing this to really make a career. I'm doing this for fun. But because I had that mentality, I didn't take it as serious as some of the guys who did take it as a career and are doing much better. And
that's the true. Yeah, because when I was thinking about it, like I can't do that type of you know, comedy routine right now to like the other guys do, because for several reasons. I have a family. I have a newborn daughter. Yeah, I
can't be playing games.
Yeah, I can't just say, you know what, honey, fuck that teaching job that gets me the major of our income. Yeah, fuck that. You know what I want to do? I want to earn 30,000 rubles per month doing comedy, and that only after 6 months. You know, because for the first 6 months I won't get paid a dime.
Exactly.
Because nobody notices me. Yeah. I have to earn the name. I have to make a name for myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the truth. And besides, I know that how it happens in other countries, because I've read a lot of horror stories from the American comedy scene. Yeah, that's not a secret. Like every third comedian in America, when they get asked like, "How did you start?" they would tell you, "Oh, I was driving from one city to another, doing gigs for $30 and spending 35 on the road, and I was part-time working in Uber." That's their story.
Yeah, 100%.
Part-time working.
Those are the lucky ones.
Yeah, those are lucky ones. Yeah, because in the States, if we talk about the States, back in the day, like about 15 to 20 years ago, in order to get a spot in a comedy club, the comedians had to clean toilets. Like literally, they were cleaning toilets to get a spot there. They were working the doors to get the spot there. And to be fair, something like this is happening right now in Russia. Like if you are in some comedy chat, every now and then you would see like someone writing something like, "Oh, guys, we need someone on the music, to put in between the breaks. 500 rubles, you get paid for that. Plus, you get 5 minutes on stage." Yeah, so that's how you can basically do that. Yeah. But yeah, in every other world, in every other situation, you have to grind. That's the only way how you can get noticed here.
Yeah.
You might get lucky, but let's be honest, that's like 1 in a million chances.
I think that's amazing though. I mean, if you if you get paid to press a button on the mixer, and you get 5 minutes, I'd definitely rather do that than cleaning someone's shit before I go on stage. Yo.
That's not even a button. Not even a button, because I've done that once. You know what I did?
Yeah.
I got the mini jack cable attached to my phone, and I was just playing my player.
There we go. And you got paid to do that. I mean,
and
come on,
got
that's
5
great.
minutes on stage. Yes, that was quite funny. But still. Going back to the comedy scene, like you, how can I put it? So I saw you, probably one of your biggest breaks, was, if I'm not mistaken, you tell me if it was a big break or not, was on the Got Talent show in South Africa. No, was it not? Because I'll explain why I made that assumption. Because Got Talent is an international show. Yeah, every country has this show. Like America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, South Africa's Got Talent. Yeah, everyone has it. And it's like a show which is watched by millions of people around the world and in your country in particular. Yeah. So automatically, I make an assumption that if you get there, you get exposed to millions of people. Yeah. And you get noticed, like people actually recognize your face, start recognizing your face. So tell me if that's true, and then afterwards tell me how that one came about.
So, okay, so the thing with SA's Got Talent is that it's not really a format for comedians in South Africa. So it was watched. I mean, I think that year was one of the highest viewed shows in the history of the show, or something like that. There was like 5 million people watching or something like that. Don't quote me on the numbers, but so yes, lots of people watch it. Yes, it's great exposure, but in the sense of big break, there was it was a great tool to leverage with, but there was no deals that came out of that particular thing. You know what I mean? So for music, what happens is, any musician in any of the Got Talents, right? Any musician who makes it to the quarterfinals, the music industry is set up and has infrastructure to support anyone who is decent or half decent. The comedy industry doesn't have that infrastructure. We don't have royalties for comedy. We don't have institutions. We don't have global institutions that work together. If some comedians are coming from America and coming to Russia, there aren't two organizations that communicate with each other and say, okay, cool, well, let's piece this together, put your PR department and our PR department together so we can make this big. There's no infrastructure in comedy. So yes, you're seen to millions of people, and millions of people might get like a couple of few followers on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but the infrastructure is not there for comedy. That getting exposure is enough, which is why so many comedians in South Africa are constantly complaining about exposure, because someone will, these TV stations, they say to you, I'm going to be blatantly honest. There is a brand in South Africa that in other countries, they're really big in comedy, but in South Africa, they are just really, really, really stingy.
It starts with N.
and the problem with them is that, they negotiate you so down, and they constantly use this word exposure. Oh, you're going to reach this, to kind of like take money out of the deal. And lots of comedians have done that this particular deal with this particular company. But like, when you think about it, like, exposure doesn't pay the bills. I've never ever gone to a restaurant and the bill comes and I tell them that I'm going to write them a press release. They don't need a press release. They need rubles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. How, at the end of the day, it all comes down to how can we monetize this?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to make a living, it's got to be a business. So it was great for exposure, but there weren't any real opportunities that came out of it, except for the opportunities that I created. And I had to literally leverage that video. I had to leverage that into my media pack. I leveraged that with all the other things that I'd done. My actual big break in the context of comedy was Blacks Only. Now, Blacks Only is it's the biggest comedy format in South Africa. And when I performed at Blacks Only, there's 5,000 people in that audience. And now from that audience, I think from the first time that I did Blacks Only until the sixth time that I did Blacks Only, I could probably attribute 30 corporate gigs to that brand alone.
Wow. So that paid you off nicely.
That sorts you out, and then you can invest in your website, your pages, your brand. I was running because of all these corporates. That's how I was able to have the Sandton Comedy Club. I was able to have the Cape Town Comedy Strip, which was a network of all the comedy clubs on Long Street, right? So anyone who was doing comedy on Long Street, I had some kind of involvement in the development of that, except for one venue. So I was able to build my brand and everything. The SA's Got Talent, I kind of just leveraged that video just to, because it's a brand that most people know. And this is how it is in entertainment around the world, right? Anyone will see you on a known brand and they immediately make the assumption that you're doing good.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the reality is that, people, when people don't see the back end, someone will see Trevor Noah on The Daily Show and they will think he was in a lineup of a selection of 10 comedians, and based on luck and circumstance, they picked him and he got his lucky break.
Yeah.
It's not that. To get an executive producer credit is a very serious thing. It's another ball game altogether. You know what I mean? So yes, I leveraged the SA's Got Talent. Yes, I've been milking it. Yes, I'm still milking it today. I milked it even when I came to Russia. Like I was like, you show that video and everyone's just like, cool, I'll give you time.
Yeah, of course.
And I can use that video anywhere around the world. But the reality is that video is so old, and I can't live in my coconut set. I can't live in my old sets. I can't live in that era where I was literally loving life. If I'm going to really take comedy seriously, I've actually got to say to myself, okay, cool. What am I doing now? I'm in Russia. I've got a great opportunity. What am I doing now to take advantage of like all these great opportunities? Because there's good things happening in Russia, and like,
oh my God,
I could actually be in on ground zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And since we're still on that topic, like what you said, you basically very often need to create opportunities for yourself from such big shows, and big exposure. But it can actually hurt you. And I can give you two very good examples. One of them is actually connected to Got Talent show, to America's Got Talent. A couple of years ago, there was a comedian, very experienced comedian. His name is Joe Materes, if I'm not mistaken. The guy was a 20-plus year veteran of comedy when he got there. And he was known in the comedy circles, like there are some people behind the scenes who don't get to make a lot of specials yet, but all the comedians respect them, and they get the gigs when they need to. So he was one of those guys who I guess wanted to get exposure. So he got on the Got Talent show. He was hilarious, with the material that they allowed him to go with. In the first round, he was hilarious. Safe to say the second round comes by when there is no audience, just the three judges sitting, and they show the edited video with a very funny background music, the type of music which they show in TV series when somebody fails, And exactly like that. And he's telling his jokes and there is no laughter at all. There is silence. He gets bumped from the show. And afterwards, I think a month later, he does the podcast. There is there was a podcast that he did. And he was like, when I got on that stage in the second round, I was telling my jokes, the guys behind in the back, the crew stuff and everything, they were laughing their asses off. Just at every single thing. The judges even cracked a smile, but they were not laughing. So you see, apparently they ran out of quota for comedians who can go through to the next round. Yeah. And because of that failed. And he said a very good thing back then. He was like, look, it's one thing when you don't want some particular person to go through. I get it, because it's a national competition, and it all basically comes down to politics, if we're honest, being honest, yeah? But at the same time, when you make it look like this, you're basically killing a career of a person who's been very well respected in the comedy world for 20 plus years. Now, for those people who know this guy, yeah, for all his colleagues, comedians, producers that he's worked with, club owners, he's okay, you know, because they know who he is. But for the major public, you know, who just switched to this show and saw him fail like that or edit it. Yeah, exactly. They're going to be like, such a loser. If he did this, what kind of shit has he been doing for the past 20 years? Yeah. So as the thing. And the other example is for even bigger audience. Yeah. Disney, in particular, Star Wars. I'm sorry for all the Star Wars and Disney fans in particular who are listening to this right now. Last trilogy was shit. Like utter shit. Because I'm a fan of Star Wars. My friend, he's a nerd in Star Wars. We were basically puking in the cinema when we went to see the last episode of this new trilogy. In the middle of some dialogue, I laughed my ass off and I yelled out, "What the fuck?" in the entire cinema, because it was so dumb. The scripting, everything was so dumb. And of course, there were a lot of people who have been protesting this. And Disney made a lot of money from that trilogy. But if you would read some news articles, the actress who played the main role in that movie, Daisy Ridley, she actually right now has a lot of problems getting roles.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of people connect that to her role in Star Wars, because every single fan of Star Wars, who knows the universe, and every single person who has a brain and actually can follow the dialogue and the story, they were shitting on this trilogy, and they were shitting on the actors who played in that movie, and a lot of people are basically connecting her tough luck to the role in this trilogy. And that's a shame, because she's actually very good. In the other movies you see her other roles, she's actually very good. But because of that, oh man, imagine like getting a seal, basically. You are that actress who played in that shitty movie. That's it. The people will not accept you anywhere else. And that's why I really like on that topic, finishing up on that topic, I really like the fact that Robert Pattinson is playing the new Batman. Because
really? I didn't even know that.
He's a new Batman, because I've seen his work in theatrical plays. If you watch his roles in any other movies other than Twilight, he's actually a very good actor, and I'm very happy that he right now got his chance to play a very serious role. He's gonna play dark version of Bruce Wayne and Batman. So I'm really happy for that, and I really hope that he gets exposed as a talented actor, and that shame of Twilight character that he got, will finally be washed off his face.
Ooh, I don't know about Robert Pattinson being. I'm not too. I need to. I'm just literally finding this out. So I'm going to have to watch some stuff. Have they started filming?
Yeah, they made a break because he got COVID. Pattinson actually got COVID, and they stopped filming, but they are going to resume, I believe, next month. I saw somewhere the articles that said that it's going to start resume next month. And they're making it, and the director, at the very least, in his words, he's very satisfied with what they're doing.
Who's directing
right
this trilogy?
Let me see. I think it's a guy who made... Was it the Suicide Squad? Let me see that.
Oh no!
I don't actually remember. Who's the director of the movie? Matt Reeves. No. Oh my God. Sorry, Mr. Reeves. Sorry, Mr. Reeves, for shitting on your name like that. Matt Reeves is the guy who made the Monstro movie. There was a horror movie, the Planet of Apes, Cloverfield 10.
Oh, Planet of Apes. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so he's the director of this. So you can be, I think you can be very secure because he was actually the one who greenlit the Pattinson for this role.
Yeah.
So I guess
I just always found it weird that like Batman is the one, like he's the one character who actually has no superpowers whatsoever, but like so much attention is put on making his movies hardcore and badass.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because like Superman, who has so many actual powers, the last couple of movies haven't been so great.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, it's like in the joke. One American comedian made a joke. Like he was like, "Don't quote me on this, but the joke is like this." Yeah. People are still arguing who's like more realistic, Batman or Superman. And a lot of people say it's Batman. Yeah, but he goes, for me, Superman is much more realistic than Batman for one simple reason. I'd rather believe that an alien who came to Earth from another planet feeds off the solar energy and shoots lasers from his eyes than to believe that a young, rich American kid grows up and doesn't become a cunt.
That's very funny. I like
yeah,
that.
and that's yeah. But if you look really at the DC movies, yeah, since we're on topic, yeah, not a lot of them were very good. Like the Justice League was not very good, and like there is a big fuss over Zack Snyder releasing the director's cut of Justice League, and I'm like, it's just so much fuss. I don't believe that it's gonna make a difference, you know. And we all remember the debacle of a Batman versus Superman with this, where when Martha changed everything. Oh my god. That is one of the dumbest plot twists I've ever seen in my life.
I really like. I have nothing to say about it. I was just very disappointed. I feel like when I'm disappointed, I never get involved. I never get involved in social media discussions, because I like reading opinions and like reading what people have to say about the movies and any topic. But I never like getting involved because for some reason, like you can hear like when I speak, there's a lot of things that I think about, and I kind of like try to phrase things in a way that that takes into consideration all the things in my head, which is what everybody does when they talk.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not special. But the thing that kills me about online is like, I'll say, okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with you, but this, and I put as much effort as I can into making this thing like succinct and like real and like honest and true. And I remember having debates with people over the most ridiculous stuff because they changed the conversation completely. You could literally say, someone could write a post about like applesauce, and you say, yeah, I don't like applesauce because I haven't eaten it, but I think maybe if I do eat it, I might enjoy it. I never know. And then they come in and they're like, yeah, well, if you haven't had applesauce, then what's wrong with you? You need to try and figure out what's going on with your government because you're a racist. And you know what it's like when you're a racist? You actually need to eat your Rice Krispies because Rice Krispies are not good for you. Eat your vegetables. I'm vegan. I hate guns. Fuck you. And you're like, I'm sorry. I have no idea. I actually have no idea what we're talking about. I thought this was about applesauce. Now I'm a racist who wants to buy guns. And you almost like, you just get sucked into these like ridiculous debates because I never say like I'll never just say like if I'm going to take the time to put something online, I'll think about it. I'll make sure that it's like it's well thought out, and it'll generally be like maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs, and it just opens people up to like nitpick on every single thing that you do. It's the worst.
But one thing I can tell you for sure about this social media stuff, even when you have all the objective proof and evidence, people will they will be like dumb as fuck, they will not change their opinion. Like, I know that, like basically the example of my wife, she has almost 10,000 subscribers on Twitter.
Yeah.
And how she got such amount of subscribers, she was tweeting a lot about medicine and homeopathy in particular, how it's bullshit, how it doesn't work. And but she wasn't basically trashing them for nothing. She studied. Before she started this trend, about homeopathy on Twitter, she had been studying for months this subject, why homeopathy doesn't work. Why is it dangerous for the people who treat their children with this, if you can believe that, And then she basically threw all of these objective facts out, into the world, And if you read it, there is nothing personal. It's like a scientific article practically, When you see all the proof, here are the sources, here are the links to the sources, scientific researches, you can go there, you can check this out, and so on and so forth. And yet, there will always be some Joe Schmo whose grandma had a headache, wiped her head with a cat, and then drank some piss. And all of a sudden, this is much better than going to the doctor and taking pills, you know?
Exactly.
And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
So it's a freaking toxic environment, unfortunately. Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword. Like, we need social media to promote ourselves in comedy, but then it's so irritating. I think that's what I don't get involved in the discussions. I think I just use it for shameless self-promotion. That's the only thing you can do it for. There is always advantages to that. You need to self-promote yourself. Go for it. Do it, and don't read the comments. Just don't read
Just don't read the comments. It's like I had this thing when I do Russian stand-up from time to time. And the second time I did that, one of the girls who was organizing a show where I performed for the first time, I don't know, maybe she liked the way I performed, but then she texted me. She was like, hey, there is one of our guys, he's basically putting together his own show. Do you want to do 15 minutes? I'm like, this is only my second time performing in Russian. You're giving me 15 minutes. Of course I will. So I went there, and the place was, it was a debacle because that day there was a concert of rock cover bands. And apparently nobody told them before the start of the show that there would be stand-up, because the stand-up part should have been in the intermission. They gave us an hour. So it was like 3 hours of cover bands, an hour of stand-up, and more hours of cover bands. 3 guys.
Man.
2 other comedians and myself. We get there. And it was freaking great, because nobody was expecting stand-up. So there were about 100 people at the bar, I want to say, So you need to picture this. There is a small stage, There is a small stage right next to the exit, to the entrance/exit, like to the left of us. And as we were performing there, I could hear people yell at the entrance because they were playing table football. Like yelling and screaming. And there were only 25 people, I think, who were actually listening to us. So they formed 2 half circles around us, and everyone else didn't give a shit. But to my point, so I'm performing, I'm sweating like a slut in a church, because this is first time in Russian doing 15 minutes. Then I get to the bar, I'm like, I need a drink, and there is a blonde girl standing there, and she's like, was it you just performing? I'm like, yeah. She looks at me, she goes, oh my gosh, that was so freaking terrible. You should never do that again. You should be ashamed of yourself. And leaves. I was like, okay. The only thing I told her, I was on her way out, I was like, well, you can call me to host your wedding. And so I get back to the other comedians, and I tell them the story, because I think it's the funny stuff happening, at comedy shows. They're like, one of them goes like, wait a minute, do you mean that blonde girl with a short haircut? I was like, yeah. He was like laughing, and I'm like, why are you laughing? And he goes, so she actually was standing right next to the stage. She was recording, she was filming your entire set, and after every punchline, she did this. She was like, not funny.
No, man.
So he always would get such people, and I didn't take it seriously because I I mean, my first time on stage, I told you, yeah, the host heckled me. Nobody can even touch me when they complain about what I do on stage after that. Yeah. But still. Yeah. So one more topic I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
You have been traveling a lot. As I understand, for recent years, and as far as I understand, that you also have been performing everywhere you go to, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So, how is it on the contrast with your the quote unquote mother country of stand-up comedy? Yeah, what's the difference? What are your impressions of all these countries you performed in? How different is that? What is the best? What is the worst? Like in your experience?
To be perfectly honest, I don't think that there's anything that's like the best and the worst. I'm just excited every single time that there's an opportunity for another venue that actually does have English comedy, because so I performed in Tanzania. But Tanzania, that was a corporate event. So like they flew me in business class specifically for that show. So I didn't get a chance to perform around the area, but there's some comedians from Cape Town who are starting to do regular trips there. But from the audience that I performed at there, it was, it's not better or worse. They're just a little bit more conservative. The top half, like East and North Africa, is very conservative. So, if you're cracking jokes that have anything to do with religion, you're not going to win. So you really have to write material that that caters for that sort of like religious nuance. If you look at like Europe, and you look at Holland, and you look at Germany, there is, and I haven't been to the UK yet. I want to go to the UK and America. But when you look at Europe, English is a very real language in Europe. So there's a lot of English speaking gigs. So Germany, I mean, there was probably there was a comedian that I opened for, John McCombs. He's an American comedian. He was doing his tour here. His European tour, I think he did 90 dates.
Wow.
I mean, that is ridiculous, Czechoslovakia, I mean, is it Czechoslovakia? Czech Republic?
Czechoslovakia is no more just like the Soviet Union.
So the Czech Republic, the scene there is also, it's like very close to the German scene, so things are happening. But similar to Tanzania, Munich, one of the most conservative, just such a conservative audience that I really struggled to connect with them. Frankfurt, they were on top of their game. They understood all my nuances. I literally, in Frankfurt, I could actually perform a set that I would do in South Africa and just give them like a little bit of background and reference, but still perform like the stuff that I'm proud of performing. You know what I mean? Tanzania, there was it was kind of there.
Tension,
yeah. Munich, rough. Holland, really cool. Holland was really dope. They're kind of very savvy, but I mean, when you come from the country that literally like that discovered South Africa, there's a lot of connections between Holland and I take that back. They didn't discover South Africa. They claim to have discovered South Africa when Jan van Riebeeck got to South Africa, but people were already there. But then Russia was quite interesting because it was the first time that I actually really had to like do a complete 360 on my own material, on the culture, on the language, on the alphabet, on everything. But what I can say though about the scene in Russia is that I think that there's much more growth potential in Russia than any of the other places, specifically because of specifically Moscow. Mainly because of the nature of the city itself. Faust Bar, if you look at Faust Bar, that underground setup,
yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You look at Steal the Show, that underground setup, unbelievable. You go across, like literally just go across from Steal the Show to that stage. Like there are so many underground venues that are available in Moscow that if there was enough motivation and enough and that's what I want to be involved in, you know what I mean? Like if I can help and be involved in that process, because I've run so many gigs at so many different venues, I know all the problems. There's so much growth potential for English comedy in Russia, and also because of the fact that with all the with all the comedians now teaching English to Russians, that means that there's going to be a bigger audience, and slowly you'll start converting the 122 million people that are living in Moscow, and increase the size of fans that'll start watching the comedy. So the comedians are doing the comedy and then also spreading the comedy, but then they're also teaching people English so that they can get a bigger audience, and it's just going to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. So, I mean, audience-wise, there's no such thing as a good or a bad audience.
Mm-hmm.
I blame myself and I blame comedians. There's no such thing as a bad audience.
And that's a key. If you listen to the first episode, we were talking about the same thing. There are a lot of comedians who get off stage after an unlucky night, yeah? And especially the rookies, yeah, basically. I'm saying like I'm a guru of comedy. But still... basically, not even the rookies, but the people who don't want to watch the facts in the face. Yeah, they're like, man, that was a bad crowd. They were not prepared for my jokes. There is one simple reason why I will never say that. I said it. I used to say that when I was starting. Yeah. But there was one show which happened actually recently, about 2 weeks ago, in Jim and Jack's, where after which I will never ever even have an idea to say that. So basically the host killed the crowd. Like there is a very important factor of hosting, but forget about that. Every single comedian bombed. I was bombing for 12 minutes there. Like 3 laughs maybe at most. Everything was it came out. I was like, what the hell was this? I was not upset. I was like, how is it possible? I've never had anything like that. And then the last guy who was performing was Abed, again. And I saw him bring back that crowd, revive them, and actually he made them clap. He made them applaud by with his jokes. And after that, one idea came to my head. I was like, there is no excuse. After seeing this, how a comedian brought a dead crowd and where every single comedian bombed, but he killed, there is no excuse that comedian, there is no such excuse as a bad crowd. Your jokes might not be top notch, your jokes might not be for the particular crowd. Yeah, it's true. But as a comedian, you need to learn how to adapt to the crowd, because what is suitable for one and appreciative of one crowd is not suitable and appreciated by another crowd. That's 100%. Also the truth. You have to be ready for that. Yeah. So that's a very good thing. I think we need to get out there. Yeah. So a couple of final segments here, because I have like a tradition. I mean, this is only the second episode, but I already have a tradition. To introduce a couple of segments. About your comedy experience. And your life experience. So first of all, let's move to comedy experience. What was your worst experience in comedy when you felt ashamed, death inside, maybe even scared? Like, what is one particular moment that comes to your head for those 10 years that you've been doing stand-up?
Definitely has to be that first gig.
That first gig,
Definitely. Yeah. There's nothing comes close to that, because from what happened at that first gig, that was the first time that I actually realized that the comedians don't just walk on stage and speak like a well-versed sitcom. You know what I mean? Because when you watching stand-up comedy is like watching a sitcom. You think that they naturally speak like that. No, they've got a team of writers. They've got a gang of staff writers. They've got producers. They've got executive producers. They've got editors. They've got copy editors. They've got proofreaders. Like stand-up comedy, we're doing all of that ourselves. So, that was really bad for me. And it was because of that I actually started to really thinking about what I wanted to write. Yeah.
Okay, great. So that was a short one, but actually you go back and listen to when Mumsy was telling this story.
Yeah.
So the second thing is about life experience. Yeah. There is such a thing which I call the worst thing that happened to you in Russia. Yeah. Abed told the story of how he basically almost got arrested, and stuff like that. I kind of know your worst story in Russia, but I want you to tell it to the people who are listening right now, because I think that this is not only a funny story in some way, but also a very serious matter that still exists in Russia and in Moscow in particular. So, would you kindly, sir?
So that experience is actually not even the worst thing that happened to me, but I'll share that story. So, I was on when you not a lot of people speak English in Russia. And the ones who do, maybe I'm just not meeting them in the right places. So I got into Tinder to try and meet English-speaking people. And anyway, I got into this this girl invited me on a she invited me to like a bar. So anyway, we I don't want to embellish the story, but so she sends through an address of where we need to meet, and she said this is where she stays. She says that this is actually where she lives, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Now, if I was smart enough and like I wasn't thinking with maybe, I don't know, like my penis, I would have thought to myself, wait, on a first date, why would anyone ever in their right mind want to meet at their house? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Like at their apartment. But I wasn't thinking. The blood wasn't even in my head. It was in my pants. So I get to this place, and then when I get there, we say hi and everything, and I think we only walked about 3 meters, and then she says to herself, oh, but it's actually quite cold. I should have bought a jersey. So I said to her, but you live here. Why don't you just go upstairs? I'll wait for you here. It's fine. I mean, this is your house. I mean, go upstairs, get a jersey, come back. I'll wait. And then she said no. And I realized if my blood wasn't in my penis and it was in my head, I would have realized this is flag number 2, Anyway, so then now we walk, I think it was literally, I'm not even joking, we walked maybe like 20 meters, okay, from where we actually met up. And she points at this like underground sort of like dive of a bar, karaoke bar. It looked very, very dingy, and it was kind of like dark, and there was like a barman and like this woman, this waitress there. And when you like, I'm also new to Russia, so I don't want to offend her and start saying, I mean, this is a really shitty place. I mean, that could be the gold standard in Russia. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't want to offend anybody. So we sit down. The waitress asks us what we want to drink. They didn't give us menus or anything. So anyway, the girl that I'm with, she orders a glass of champagne and a hookah pipe, kalyan. So literally we have 3 glasses each and the hookah pipe. So that's 6 glasses of champagne and the hookah pipe. Eventually, when I asked for the bill, the bill comes and the bill is 35,000 rubles. And I was like, wow. I'm sorry, this is absolutely ridiculous. For 35,000 rubles, I could go on a double date, actually pay for escorts, and give them dinner at White Rabbit each. Do you know what I mean? And here I am with this to be very honest, like a subpar partner and a really, really like a shitty venue, So anyway, so I start complaining. I say, no, I need to speak to the manager. I asked them, I'm asking like, show me the bottles that we drank. So they show me a bottle of Moet. I know what we were drinking was not Moet at all. It was like some really cheap sparkling wine. Anyway, I'm using Google Translate the whole time because they don't speak English and I don't speak Russian. And this chick she's not even translating for me. I'm saying to her, can you tell them this, this, this? And I don't think she was even doing the translation because she was in on the scam. Long story short, 4 guys. Now there's 2 guys sitting next to me, 1 guy standing, and the barman / owner / manager standing on the other side of the table. So I'm completely surrounded by these guys. And the guy just starts beating me up and saying, money, 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 money. Eventually, I'm like, okay, stop. Let me go to the ATM. Went to the ATM and drew money out of an account that was actually meant for my flight back to South Africa.
Holy shit.
And I was like, oh, this is just ridiculous. So anyway, gave them the cash, went downstairs. got the girl, and I said to her, okay, cool, come, we can go now. Because she still, I don't think she still didn't realize that I knew she was in on this whole thing.
Okay.
So we get outside, and I say to her, yeah, okay, cool, you need to come with me to the police station. And then she's like, no, she doesn't want to go to the police station. I'm like, no, you need to, I mean, you need to come to the police station. Plus, you said you were going to pay 8,000, so I want to get that money back. And then she just literally like ran away. So I was like, but I didn't chase her because the waitress who had just served us and the main guy who beat me up, he was putting the waitress into a cab, and I needed to make sure that I could get the number plate of that cab. So when I went to the police station, I want to catch all those motherfuckers. I don't just want the Maria chick. And by the way, it's a Velvet Bar or Velvet Lounge near Mendelevskaya. Yeah. So if anyone ever comes across Velvet Bar or Velvet Lounge, don't fucking trust that place. Just a word of warning to everybody out there. If you go to any place, just ask for the menu. And if you look at the menu and the prices don't make sense, immediately just get the fuck out. That's it.
Or just delete Tinder from your phone altogether.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm on Tinder right now as we speak.
Very professional, you see, ladies and gentlemen. You can see. You hear, yeah? Oh my God, yeah. But this is the story that proves once again that you're not safe. You have basically not that you're not safe. Yeah, you need to watch out because Moscow is not the worst place to live in. Yeah, it's not. Despite all the jokes and stereotypes, it's not even the most dangerous. It's far from being the most dangerous place to live in. Yeah. But at the same time, just watch out, use your head, and try to be, I don't know, maybe wiser, based on this story. Yeah, because this is a story that happened to a real person in real life. Yeah, here in Moscow. Yeah. So, guys, better learn from the experience of others than on your own skin. So
and the crazy thing about that is I shared that story with another South African. It happened. There was 3 attempts of that trying to happen to him. The one got a little bit hairy, but he got out of the situation. There's another friend of mine from Russia, one of his friends, similar situation, but that was 50,000 rubles.
Shit.
But they just opted for the police. They called the police or something, so that was really great. So it happens to a lot of people. So yeah, people just got to watch their backs. But
yeah. And piece of advice for the foreigners, because I mean it happens with Russians as well, but foreigners are an easy prey, especially if you don't know a word of Russian, basically, like in your case, for example. So guys, be very careful and better try to find someone who can translate for you, or like who can become your running buddy for your stay in Moscow, basically. And that's that, because trust me, there are a lot of good people who live here, and they are ready to help you with anything, basically. So so man, that was a long and very interesting, entertaining conversation. Thank you very much. I'm so glad I was able to get you here. And before we finish up, the last the last question that I ask every single person, I will ask every single person who does this. Like I'm saying, like it's like it's
been going on for 20 years now.
20 years. I'm getting too old for this shit. But still, to all those guys and girls who want to do comedy, who are thinking about trying to do comedy, what piece of advice can you give to the beginners or to the people who really want to do this?
Don't do it. There's enough comedians out there. I don't need more competition. I don't need younger people who know Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok. I can't compete on that. Just don't do it, please, man. I'm still trying to build my own career and just get something going on my side. Now I've got to introduce some more people. No, just don't do it. That's my only advice. Just don't do stand-up comedy. Look, if you're serious about comedy, in the 13 years that I've been running comedy gigs, the way in which I've probably had maybe 200 people perform for me. And the only thing that I actually ask people, if they want 5 minutes, I give everyone 5 minutes. There's no test. They don't have to clean the toilets. I'm not going to pay them. So the only thing that I ask them is, why do they want to do comedy? And if they answer, if I'm asking you this question right now, and in your head you're thinking, I want to do comedy because I want to make people laugh, then don't do comedy, because that's not enough of a reason. If you want to make people laugh at Sunday dinner, make people laugh in the office. You can make people laugh whenever you want, you know? If in your head you're thinking, I want to do stand-up comedy because I want to make money, then you really need to focus on the business side of things, you know? But if you wake up and every single day of your life you feel this burning need to share a real, truthful, honest, like, story that is deep inside of you, and the only medium that you feel makes sense for that is comedy, then my advice to you is you need to take it serious like a business. You're not going to gone are the days where comedians are like constantly cracking jokes and always like no. You know, the most successful comedians, listen to their podcasts, listen to them, listen to their interviews. These are serious people, you know, because they've taken a lot of serious concepts inside of their head to be able to actually like provide for their families and make a living. So take it like a business. And if you take comedy like a business and you make it an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 working day every day, no matter how bad you are as a comedian or no, actually, no, I don't think I'm not going to say that anyone is a bad comedian, but no matter how many times people tell you that you're bad or tell you that you won't do it, 8 hours every single day gets you closer to your 10,000 hours that makes you an expert at whatever thing you do. So just put in the 8 hours every day and take it like a business. That's it. That's my only advice.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. There you go, folks, girls, and guys again. Yeah. And whoever you associate yourself with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like spoken like a baby. Yeah. Like they say that babies always spill out the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Mamze did right now. So great. Talk to you, man. Thank you very much once again for doing that.
Thank you.
Hopefully that everything will work out for you, because you're getting out of here in November. Yeah, next month, I believe.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully in November. Yeah. I'm hoping.
Okay, yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll do this again. Yeah, for the time that you still have here. And once again, sir, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank
you. Have a nice night. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this. So see you again next time on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.